This video is an affiliation with Collingwood Insurance. Today I'm going to talk about turning right and crossing the path of traffic. If you drive on the right hand side of the road, this will be the equivalent of turning left. 40% of the world drive on the left, and if you drive on the left, when you turn right, you're turning into the path of oncoming cars, and that can be dangerous. So it's important for you to know where and when you should wait, and that's exactly what I'm going to explain in this video. I would like to mention a video I made about a year ago on traffic lights. Personally, I think it's one of my best videos, and I also think it's a very important video because I set out many scenarios at traffic lights, including turning right, and what you should do in those scenarios and what can cause a test fail. There's a link to it in the top right hand corner of your screen, and I'll link to it at the end of this video as well as a reminder, because I do think it's very important. I think anyone learning to drive, including experienced drivers, could probably take something from this video. When turning right, I'll check my centre and right mirror, signal right. I'll slow down to between 10 and 15 miles an hour for turning into a side road, into second gear, and I'll position myself near the white line in the middle, but not over the white line, just so it looks like I'm turning right. And then when I get in line with the line in the middle of the road I'm entering, then I'll steer around it into my side of the road. It's important not to drive into the wrong side of the road. Last time I didn't have to wait for oncoming cars because there wasn't any. But this time I'll wait and show you exactly where you should wait when turning right. So what I do, again, near the middle of the road, but not in the middle, so I don't want to hit that bus. And I'll wait just so that line in the middle of the road is about in line with my wing mirror. And when there's no oncoming cars, like now, and I feel I can make it, then I will go. Generally speaking, a good rule of thumb, if you feel you have time to walk across the oncoming cars, you probably have time to drive. But be careful, especially if you're new to driving, it may take you a bit longer. But with practice, you do get quicker at these things. And if you're worried about decision making, try not to push yourself too much with that one. You will need big gaps to begin with, and as you get more experience at moving the car and more experience at judging how quickly people are coming towards you and how long it takes you to get going, you will get better at making decisions. There's no quick, easy source that's going to make you good at it like that. It does take time and experience. So have patience, take big gaps to begin with, and you'll find over time those bigger gaps will get smaller. And I've also found that pushing people to take gaps that they're not comfortable with doesn't actually make them learn any quicker. If anything, it makes them take longer to get better at decision making. If you want a more in-depth video on decision making, I do have one in the top right hand corner of your screen where I go into more depth, more about roundabouts that to be honest, but there is some T-junctions in there as well. If you're turning right on a narrow road like I am now, don't go near the middle because there's not enough room. You get too close to the oncoming car. Just keep your normal road position and then make your turn as usual into the correct side of the road. When turning right on a bend, it's particularly dangerous because you can't see the oncoming cars. So instead of doing it at 10 to 15 miles an hour in second gear, bring the car to a near stop and select first gear. That way you can make a later decision, meaning you're more likely to spot the oncoming car. Sometimes when you turn right, you get a very handy waiting area in the middle of the road, as you can see here. It's important to use that so people can pass on the left, but don't ever go to the end of them because the end of them is all the way past the junction. You end up turning into the grass. Again, wait so your wing mirror is in line with the middle of the road you're entering. And then when no one's coming, look right so you get a good judgment of your steering and turn in. Now I've come back to this waiting area again to show you. All of these waiting areas go way past the junction. So I'm going to go to the end of this waiting area this time, or as close to the end as I dare, and show you the problem with going near the end. I'm near the end now. As you can see, I can't actually make it to the end because I'm going to struggle making it in here otherwise without going on the grass. They're all like that, and that catches out a lot of new drivers. So always wait just before the middle of the road you're entering. Never go to the end of those waiting areas. And now I'm going to give you an example of turning too early into the road on the right. If you turn too early, like I will do this time, You really don't want to do this. You'll end up turning into the wrong side of the road, which puts you into danger, or in danger of oncoming cars. And that is a test fail. When turning right, it's super important to look right, don't look forwards. Let me show you what I mean. If I line up to turn into this road on the right here, so my wing mirror is going to be near the middle of the road. There's no line in the middle, so I'm going to guess the middle's around about there. If I now look forwards, I've got no way to gauge the steering, so I'm going to steer whilst looking forwards. The front comes round and I've ended up in the middle of the road, actually on the wrong side of the road more than my side of the road. And that's because I can't see how much steering I'm adding until I've finished and I'm already in the road. If I was to look right and look into this road as I turned, I'd be able to see how much steer to add, and I would know when I've put enough on and I could hold it steady and let the car come round. Looking ahead whilst turning right is actually one of the most common mistakes learners make when they're trying to turn right. I'm going to show you it the correct way this time by actually looking right, and you can see the difference. So into second gear, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. I'll actually wait for this oncoming car now, so I'll wait with my wing mirror in line with the middle of the road I'm entering, and this time when I turn, I'll look over there where I'm going, and now I can stop steering because I can feel like I'm entering my lane. I know exactly when to stop steering because I can see when I've added enough steer. On some roads you have these hatch markings in the middle and they're not wide enough to fit your car, but if you're turning right you should still drive in them, just don't drive onto the wrong side of the road. And like the open waiting area you had earlier, there is actually a space for you to wait, but don't go to the end of that space because again you'll be past the junction. Wait when your wing mirror is in line with the middle of the road you want to enter, and then you can turn around the middle of the road you're entering into your side of the road as you should. If you're turning right at traffic lights and you have a green arrow like I have over there, then the oncoming cars won't be coming, so you should just be able to turn as long as your exit road is clear with no problem. So that green arrow means the oncoming cars have a red light. When turning right at a green light, that's not an arrow, you have to wait in the middle of the junction for oncoming cars. It's oncoming cars at the moment, so I'll wait for them just before the middle of the road I'm entering until there's no one coming. When no one's coming, I'll look into the road that I'm turning into and aim into my side of the road. A common mistake drivers make, new drivers and old drivers, is they forget that when they have a green light at traffic lights, oncoming cars most likely also have that green light. So make sure you remember this. If you're turning right, you're crossing the other side of the road, and if there's oncoming traffic, you don't want to cross into the oncoming traffic. So wait in the middle of the junction until there's no oncoming cars, or until the lights go red, in which case the oncoming cars will also have a red light. Then anyone waiting in the middle of that junction can finish and clear the junction. Some junctions have yellow lines painted in the middle of them. These are known as yellow box junctions. These aren't any different to any other junction. It's just trying to emphasize the fact that you shouldn't wait in the middle of the junction unless your exit road is clear. For example, you can see a yellow box junction in front of us now. That's to make it clear that I shouldn't wait in the middle of that junction unless my exit road is clear, and my exit road is clear. So when these lights go green, even though I have to wait for the oncoming cars, I can do that because my exit road is clear. And when the oncoming cars are no longer coming, then I can make my move. For example, we've got an oncoming car now, that oncoming car's gone, I'm waiting in the box junction, no one's coming now, but my exit road is clear, so I can carry on. And I'm not blocking the junction. So whether or not there is a yellow box painted in the middle of the junction, you should leave the junction clear. You shouldn't wait in the middle of the junction if your exit road is blocked. The only time you can wait in the middle of the junction and on a yellow box is when you're waiting to turn right, and the only thing stopping you from turning right is oncoming cars. When turning right at traffic lights and you have an oncoming car like that silver Ford Fiesta wants to also turn right, I know he's going to turn right or she's going to turn right because they're in that lane, even though they're not signalling. You would normally turn before each other. You wouldn't go past each other and turn after each other. You turn before each other, as I'll be able to show you now the lights have gone green, what timing that was. And I'll move forwards into the middle. I'll wait for any oncoming cars like this silver Kia, and then I'll turn before this Fiesta. This Fiesta should have moved off earlier actually, and waited in the middle like I did, but obviously they're a bit confused of how the junction works. So most people will turn before each other when they're turning right at crossroads, with oncoming cars also turning right, but the highway code recommends turning after each other. But the video I mentioned at the beginning of this video explains why that can be a very bad idea and why most people don't do it. In fact, I don't think anyone's ever done it to me before or tried to do it. If you're turning right on a smaller crossroads such as this one, you may not be able to turn before each other because you'll end up driving on the wrong side of the road, and you may not be able to steer after each other because you'll end up driving into the curb or the pavement because there's not enough room. In this situation, it is better to wait before the crossroads until you know what the oncoming car is doing before you make a decision. It is generally first come, first serve, but not everybody knows this or does this, so be careful. When turning right on a dual carriageway, get to the right lane as early as you can, and then start signalling nice and early when you can see the turn over there, and start slowing down early as well and gently to give people plenty of warning of what you're about to do. Use the little slip road to help with some of your slowing down. Don't slow down all the way there. And here I actually have a give way line, so I have to give way to people coming out of there first before I venture to the middle. And as there's no one coming out of there and no oncoming cars, I can make my way across the other carriageway into this new road. That is one of the more dangerous things you have to do, because you have to slow down in the right lane on the fast road. Well, I hope this video helps. If you think it does, please give it a thumbs up and check out Collingwood and Confused in the description. Collingwood are great if you're learning to drive and you want to insure yourself on a friend or family member's car, because you can do that without risking their policy or their no claims bonus. There's long-term policies available and short-term. If you go for a long-term, if the long-term is cheaper, don't worry. If you cancel it early, you will get a pro rata refund for what you haven't used. There's up to 35% off via the link in the description at the moment, and a £20 Amazon gift card too. Using that link does support this channel. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out confused.com, because with confused.com, you can fill out one quote form and get many quotes from many insurers, making it easier for you to find the best deal. Also, you can change that quote form, so you can change the vehicle as many times as you like. You can change the excess and the mileage and work out what is the best route for you, what's cheapest, what's the best car for you to buy, so that it's cheap to insure. Using the link in the description does support this channel, so thank you very much. If you would like my future videos, please subscribe. The end screen of this video will be a link to that video I mentioned earlier on. I highly recommend that video. I think it's very good for new drivers and even experienced drivers in some ways. Until the next one though, cheerio.